So it is what it is. But
Yep.
glad it worked out. As far as because there's so many things going on with, like, I guess you could say Puerto Rican boxing and just boxing in general. I guess we'll switch gears a little bit.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to get your take because this is a big debate amongst the boxing community right now as to who is the pound for pound #1 fighter between Naoya Monster Inoue and then Terrence Crawford. Do you have an opinion on that? Because I know some people got some strong opinions on that.
I think that's a really competitive 50-50 debate because even though Crawford isn't as active as Inoue, he's accomplished a lot in boxing, and he's in the biggest fight in boxing since Pacquiao Mayweather. He won it in dominant fashion.
Correct.
In dominant fashion, outclassed Errol Spence Jr., which is crazy to say. But Inoue being more active and being undisputed twice is just an accomplishment on its own. Something Crawford, well, he's been undisputed at 140 and now at 147. I think he has all the belts, if I'm not mistaken. That's a 50-50. I think Inoue won Fighter of the Year, right? I think they were debating if it's Crawford or Inoue. I want to believe, if you ask me, I want to say Inoue is pound for pound, explosive, power, speed, hit you to the head, the body combinations, the way he's beating down these elite fighters in his weight class is amazing, and the activity makes a difference. He's more active than Crawford.
Yeah, and he's gonna fight again in May. They're talking about Luis Nery.
That's a good fight.
That's a really good fight. A lot of people aren't giving Luis Nery much of a chance in that fight. I feel like Nery is definitely the most offensively dynamic fighter that Inoue's probably fought since Donaire in the first fight. How do you see that fight, Nery and Inoue?
Nery's gonna come forward, typical Mexican fighter, warrior, heavy hands in both fists. In his last fight, I think it was against the Armenian guy. He went to war with him.
Asa Hovhannisyan.
Yes, that was a classic fight. And we all saw the toughness of Luis Nery. And he won the fight by stoppage. So he's going to show that same type of mettle against Inoue. But I think Inoue will be a little bit too much for him in the end. That's slick, that perfect timing, the explosiveness, the counters are going to start to come in and start to bust Luis Nery up. But Luis Nery ain't gonna stop trying. But I think Inoue is gonna get the stoppage eventually in that fight. By TKO, so. Maybe in the 8th round, maybe.
Yeah, it could be earlier. I think with Nery being a southpaw and that liver being in the front, he got stopped by a liver shot by Brandon Figueroa. So I think that's something that the Inoue camp is gonna work on, that left hook to the liver.
And Inoue one of the most vicious body punchers.
He is. He absolutely is. And so he's the man at 122. I mean, a lot of people don't really think there's a whole lot for Inoue left at 122. No. But from your vantage point, whether it be 122 or 126, who do you think is the biggest challenge for Inoue from 122 to 126? Just them 2 weight classes.
122 to 126.
Because I think all those guys would challenge are probably at 26.
I think. If Junto Nakatani comes up in weight, I think it'll be a better fight.
You brought up I wasn't asking about that too, actually, because I think that's the fight that if Inoue ever fights at the Tokyo Dome in Japan, that's the fight they got to do at the Tokyo Dome in Japan.
That's like a Super Bowl for Japanese boxing.
It would be. What do you think about that fight? Because Junto is so offensively dynamic and the punch output's crazy.
Yes, sir. He's very tall, very rangy for his weight. I think he'll use his range properly against Inoue. He won't be lost in there. He'll know what to do. He got pop in both hands. He can catch Inoue with any of his hands, man. Especially that dead left hand that Koch Maloney put him to sleep. But we all know Inoue got a beard. He showed it in that first Donaire Classic. That was the first time Inoue got taken to the limit in a fight. And of course, we all saw what happened in the rematch with Donaire. But in terms of Junto and Inoue, styles mesh, perfect, excellent fight. It's gonna be action for sure. Because in Japanese boxing, something about them over there, man. They go in there with their heart, soul on the line. They put it all. They don't mind shedding some blood for us. They're warriors, man.
It's all about death before dishonor in that culture, man. It was like that recent fight with Anaguchi and Seiya Tsutsumi. That was the co-main event on the last Inoue card.
Yeah.
I mean, that fight was ridiculous.
Even the fight where Kenshiro Teraji lost against Mamaguchi.
Masabishi Buki, yep.
Yeah, Mamaguchi, yeah. That was an upset at first, but if you look at the fight, man, that was a classic fight. That was a brutal fight. And then, of course, Kenshiro came out and knocked him out in the second rematch.
And even Kenshiro versus Anthony Olas Kuwaga, when he knocked him out the ring.
Oh, yeah. That was crazy. Kenshiro, speaking of Japanese boxing, Kenshiro's, man, is pound for pound, I think, number one in his weight class. It's going to be hard to beat him.
At 108, yeah. I know.
108.
I like Jonathan Gonzalez too, and I wanted them to fight each other. I asked Ken about it when I was in Japan, and he said he's very confident about that fight. He loves that fight stylistically for him.
Hopefully, it happens this year if Jonathan beats Rene, which is not an easy no cakewalk. I think that's a very good fight in Puerto Rico and for Puerto Rican boxing. Speaking of Puerto Rican boxing, that's a hell of a fight. It's been a minute since we had two Puerto Ricans fight for a world championship in the island itself. So the last time that happened, if I'm not mistaken, was years ago, like in 2001. Alex Nene Sanchez versus Nelson Diepa. They fought for a world.
That's way back when.
They fought for a world championship, I think, in the same venue, and they were the main event. And they tore the house down. 11th round knockout by Diepa. Caught him with a right hand. Sanchez went down flat on his back. Classic fight, man. So I'm hoping it lived up to that expectation because with both of them, they have a style that will bring a good fight. I don't ever live up to that expectation because that's some big expectations to live up to.
No, it is.
So Rene El Chulo Santiago, Jonathan Bomba Gonzalez. It's a good fight. Jonathan Bomba Gonzalez is mandatory, actually. So he's no slouch. He's the interim WBO champion as well.
Yeah. Well, I'll be rooting for Bomba Gonzalez to get it done because, man, I'll tell you this, man. And over the years, at times I've been a little critical of Puerto Rican fighters because I feel like as a whole, like recently, I think Puerto Rican boxing is in a better space now.
Oh, yeah.
Like 3-4 years ago, it just felt like for a while, like when Alberto Machado was more of a hot name. Like I felt like Puerto Rican boxers just couldn't buy a win in big fights. So I used to get frustrated, and I used to point a lot of. I want to take on this actually because sometimes I've noticed with Puerto Rican fighters is that when a lot of them they don't feint a lot. Like a lot of Puerto Rican fighters tend to lack feints. And they're very like jab, right hook dominant. Not a whole lot of uppercuts. Mostly jab, right hook fighters coming out of the island. What do you think?
Well, back to Puerto Rican boxing, like how you said, since Cotto retired, Puerto Rican boxing has been dead. Like basically, hasn't been the same. Once Cotto hanged up the gloves in 2017 after Saddam Ali beat him, we really haven't seen any glory since then. But until last year was the first time since 2017 Puerto Rican boxing has made some noise. Because in 2023 is one of the best years Puerto Rican boxing's had in some time. In 2022 and 2021, it was pure trash.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan Gonzalez did upset El Soto on the road. I feel like that was the beginning. That was like the catalyst, the turning point.
Because Bomba beat Edwin when Edwin was on the top of the world as world champion, knocking off Angela Costa, racking up some good solid wins. And here comes Bomba, not getting any credit coming in. People are already saying, "Oh, he's going to get smashed," like he got smashed in his previous 3 knockout losses. And he went in there and outboxed Pulga Soto and won the title, upset in California, Mexican territory.
Yeah, so. We'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. I'm hoping like they get to it quickly and slowly with Kenshiro and Jonathan Gonzalez because that's the fight really. I mean, now that Nochinga lost and you got to go fight Curiel, that's still the fight to make at 108.
Yeah, I even conversated with Bomba a time about that fight. He said he wants that fight. He wants that fight. But so both guys, like how you said, Kenshiro wants it, Bomba wants it. Is one of the biggest fights at 108 to make, and it makes a lot of sense. It's a unification.
No, 100%. I want to acknowledge a couple of the comments. Jose, we got my man Hand History Vault. He said, I'm predicting that Jonathan will drop his belt. He don't want the smoke.
Man. I'll be surprised if that happens.
Yeah?
I'll be surprised if he drops the belt.
There are a lot of boxing fans that think like all this stuff that's happening with Jonathan Gonzalez is strictly down to the fact that he didn't want no smoke with the Amazing Boy.
He got ill twice, and the first time he had to leave Japan. The fight got canceled, unfortunately.
Yeah, so
we'll see what happens after.
We'll see how it happens. But another thing I wanted to ask you about because I saw your video on it, and it's something I've talked about forever, it seems like, which is this whole Terrence Crawford-Jaron Ennis thing, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about, I guess, that fight right now, and what do you see maybe that Boots Ennis brings to the table that could trouble a guy like Terrence Crawford, as someone as great as him?
Boots, well, in the poster is going to be Crawford versus Boots. Crawford versus Boots is the best fight right now at 147 pounds. Can't go backwards, can't go forward. This is it right here. In terms of styles, is an excellent fight. I think it's a beautiful dance in the ring, waiting to happen. You got Crawford, pound for pound, welterweight in the world. Excellent counter puncher, excellent boxer puncher. Switch stances like no one else can. And then you have a guy in Jaron Boots Ennis who's a young, strong lion, big welterweight, 5 feet 10 inches, nice long reach, quick on the trigger, power in both hands. Crawford's gonna have Boots in front of him, who's gonna be doing more or less the same thing Crawford is doing. He also switched stances as well. Boxes excellently on the outside, as well on the inside. Excellent defense. Can take a crack to the chin. Has shown it in the Ruben Villa fight.
Yeah.
And he showed his mettle in that fight, how tough Ennis is. And he grinded till he stopped. Feel like he was no slouch at all, even though he's not an elite boxer, but he showed what he can do and knock him out. So in terms of Dak Crawford, who's shown a bit chinny in the past, the only guy to rock him was Gamboa. Little Gamboa rocked Crawford in the fight. I don't know if you remember that.
Crawford, of course, and Kavaluskas, knee machine.
So a big guy like Jaron Boots Ennis, a big welterweight with dynamite in both hands, catching Crawford in a counter shot with an uppercut. Ennis has some good uppercuts on the inside. He's got to watch out for that if they fight. He can catch Crawford, and if he catches Crawford may dance for us again. He's got the chance to do it.
He might just do that. I actually think no matter what the result of that fight is, I think Boots is probably going to be the first guy where when Crawford gets hit, he's going to respect that power, maybe box off the back foot a little more. So I think that knockout streak for him is coming to an end, whether he wins or loses that fight.
It's a great fight, man. I mean, win, lose, or draw, it's going to be a great fight. I think it's going to live up to the hype. We put too much hype on Spence Crawford. I mean, I don't blame anybody. But this fight ain't going to be no run over. No one is running over anybody in this fight. This is going to be a good fight.
Oh, and it's great because I don't think Terrence has ever, if he fights Boots like anytime soon, I don't think he's ever fought anybody who has that blend of size, speed, athleticism. So young, so fresh. So that's the intrigue of it all. This will be the first guy who can do a little bit of what Crawford can do. So how does he handle that?
And being at 26 years old, a young man, youth is on his side. I think he hits a little bit harder than Crawford, in my opinion. I think he's faster on the trigger than Crawford. One shot that Crawford has to look out for is the looping right hand shot over the top.
The one that he hit Delorme with,
and the one that he hit that guy he fought in at the Home Depot Center.
Custio Clayton.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir. That's the guy. He no one sees that shot coming. So Crawford, I don't think he'll see that shot coming. So you got to be careful for that if they fight.
Yeah, should be great. A lot of people have their opinions. My man right here says Crawford thrashes Boots.
Trashes Boots.
Yeah. And then he says, why does Crawford need to fight Boots if it won't give him any more credit than he has now? Because he's not doing, this is my opinion, he hasn't really stated what he wants to do. I mean, if he fights Tim Tszyu, I got no issues with him not fighting Boots if he's fighting Tim Tszyu. But, nobody really wants to see the Spence fight again. And Canelo is unrealistic. And so it's the best fight that can be made in the welterweight division, and he hasn't vacated the belts yet, so he's still a welterweight.
Yes, sir. And actually, I mean, we all can agree it's a high risk, low reward fight for Crawford, but Ennis is the best option right now in terms of welterweight. If he stays at welterweight, Ennis is the guy to fight. Because
I'll tell you this, I mean, if he don't fight Boots at welterweight and he stays at welterweight and he's not fighting Spence either, what's he going to do? Fight Giovanni Santillon? Mario Barrios. Yeah, I don't know if you noticed, but Adrian Broner has snuck into the WBC rankings. He's number 12. You got him. You're going to fight Giovanni Santillon? You're going to fight Jin Sasaki? Who's he going to fight?
And he won't get no credit beating any of those guys.
None. Nobody will care. They'll say if he fights any of them guys, they'll say he's cherry picking all them guys.
Ennis is the guy to fight. And, if he leaves 147, we all know what happened. He run from the smoke.
Yeah. My man Rafa Ali 32 says, "Why do you think Boots switches? Everybody is switching now because Crawford started that, and he is the best switch hitter in the game." I agree with that last part, but I wouldn't say he started it. He maybe popularized it in modern boxing, but guys like Marvin Hagler were doing that back in the day.
Even when you see Ennis on the mitts, he's actually switching stances.
Yeah,
it's a natural thing.
Sinisa Estrada switches stances a lot too. I mean, I know that's like way out topic. It's women's boxing, but she switches stances too a lot.
Yeah. It's becoming a thing now in boxing. A lot of people are mastering it. Even Matias in his last fight, he switched stances.
Yeah, I was watching. Who was I watching? I was watching this prospect, this flyweight from Nicaragua named Winston Guerrero, who like nobody knows about, and he sparred a lot with Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez, and he like switched his stances. Like he fights like Roman Gonzalez, but he's switching stances too. It's crazy.
I saw that video, and I'm like, if he fights like Chocolatito, I'm interested.
Yeah,
I'm interested in seeing this guy, man.
Me too. I just heard about him randomly because one of these fighters from down here was telling me about him, and I'm like, who's this guy? And so I checked him out.
Chocolatito, man, he's one of the greatest fighters ever put on a pair of gloves, man.
That's my favorite boxer. That's my favorite guy. I've seen him fight.
I know.
Yeah, I've seen him fight. Well, I went to the fight when he fought Cuadras, Calify,
Edgar Sosa.
Martinez. I'm saying I went live to these fights. I went live.
Okay.
Julio Cesar Martinez. It's been like 3 or 4 of them.
Oh wow, yeah, that's recent fights. Not what the Julio Cesar Martinez one was like
2022. That was 2022. Calify was 2020. Cuadras was 2016.
16, yes.
At the Forum, yes.
When he became a 4 division world champion.
Yeah, what a fight! To this day, might still be the best fight I've been to live. It's pretty up there.
That was pure action from first round 1 to 12. It was a close fight too.
And you know what was crazy? This is how you know Roman Gonzalez is a big star. You're fighting in LA against a Mexican fighter, Mexican champion, and half of, if not more than the arena was chanting Nicaragua, Nicaragua. That'll never happen for anybody else. Yeah, that'll never happen for anybody else in LA.
That's crazy. And the thing is, Chocolatito bit down in that mouthpiece in the 12th round and grinded out for that victory, man. He needed that last round to close strong, and he did, and he got it.
Yeah. My man right here at Super Chat, he's asking, I don't know if he's asking me or you this, but he says, "Are you related to Broadway Joel?" I'm not related to anybody on YouTube by blood.
Broadway Joel, no, I'm not related to
But shout out to Broadway. I got no problem with Broadway. Shout out to